It's Hollie's Hotspurs, welcome back. Talking Tottenham every week, no better place to be sat. If it's a win, lose, draw, we'll be here for a chat. Best believe we tackle topics like Romero in the back. Young Min Son, what can go wrong when he's on form? It's a dream come true, so sit back, relax and vibe.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hollie's Hotspurs Live, where tonight we have a 3-0 win to talk about against West Ham in their cup final, and I'm so delighted to do so with three fabulous guests. So first of all, I have Sam. Sam, it's amazing to have you back on the channel. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. It's always good to come back on the channel and straight after a win because we've got a lot more to talk about that way.
Defo, and a lot more positive things to say as well. So it's very, very happy to have you back on, Sam, and also joined by Harry. Harry, how are you too?
I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to getting into it, and it is in good circumstances as well. Always nice to beat West Ham. First time we've done it there at the London Stadium in 6 years. So no, it feels good. They're still crying about it, so long may that continue.
100%. And also joined by the amazing Billie T. Billy, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, very good. Good to be on after a win again. We've got a nice little streak going here, Hollie, I think.
Defo, we've got to keep it up 100% because I think you're the little omen, the lucky omen, shall I say, at the moment, Billy. So it's great to have you on. I'd like to say thank you to everybody that's tuning in live now, that's going to rewatch this, etc., etc. We've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, that win against West Ham, and then obviously looking ahead to tomorrow and the weekend. So without further ado, let's kind of get into it. And Sam, I'll come to you first because obviously 3-0 is a great result for us. We've battered them in their own backyard, and it's lovely jubbly. What did you make of it?
Exactly that. What I do have to say though is that no, it doesn't matter if you win by a goal to nil or 6 goals to nil. When you see a shocking referee decision like that and how VAR responded to it, you will still talk about it. And quite frankly, it is a worrying factor in the sense of the Premier League, which is supposedly the best league in the world, with some of the most questionable, diabolic decisions I see. But I guess we'll be talking about that more, and I'll let the other panel members have their say on that. But I think we responded very well in the second half. After that, I thought that Xavi was showing a brilliant debut. It's his crosses for me and his ability to be able to just make some magic with that ball when he's in tight spaces as well. And that corner delivery that he got to Sarr, my God, I remember on Son's last few years, we were like, when are we going to get like a proper corner taker? And we just see something like that whipped out. Lucas Bergvall's header as well, fantastic. I mean, I'm not going to say it was exactly like the Robin van Persie header in the 2014 World Cup, but the way the ball lobbed over the keeper, you can kind of see the similarities there. And oh my God, yeah, the finish was like so satisfying there. And it was nice to see a player who was wronged by VAR originally, that was Micky van der Ven, get the finish to top that off with some icing on the cake. And listen, I just genuinely don't even care about that lot. It's just great to beat them because they're so gobby before we even kick a ball and before we play them. And yeah, as Harry said earlier, they're still crying about it.
100%. It's nice to shut them up, isn't it, Harry? I mean, what was your kind of overall takes on the game?
Very happy. I thought it was totally dominant, totally in control. And I was having a conversation with a West Ham fan, and I don't know how he kept a straight face. He's trying to tell me that, they would have won the game if Soucek hadn't have been, sent off. And he's not the only one that somehow thinks that. I'd remind them that only we 1-0 up at the time. We were totally in control. It would have only been a matter of time before it went 2-0, and I think we would have at least won 3-0 anyway. And if anything, it probably made it harder for us, and that sounds silly, and it didn't reflect on the game with West Ham going down to 10, but they just proper secured them. No interest to get anything from the game, fully sit behind the ball. That made it a lot hard for us. We could control the ball. They were never going to win it off us inside our own half, but they wouldn't let us go in the box with it. But no, Hollie, really, really happy. Again, very good defensively when things were asked of us, and West Ham had moments like they did in that first 20-25 minutes. Very good going forward. And what excites me is we're still yet to introduce the likes of Colin Mwani. We've still got the likes of Kulusevski to come back, and so there's a lot to look forward to. I think it seems very good, and it's good to see younger players as well, like Bergvall, do very well, finally get his first Premier League goal. So, no, I think you have to be a proper negative Spurs fan to find any negatives that were really strong anyway, or any concrete negatives after this? Because no, very happy. It's a London derby win. It's totally dominant, and I think no matter the opposition, I think our performance was top class. Of course, West Ham weren't good. They can't defend set pieces. It's been an ongoing problem for them. But our performance is what we should be focusing on. Of course, it can still improve. Any club can, but I'm really impressed, and I think we keep performing like that, then we're going to be, in the conversations we want to be in. We'll be top 5, top 6, top 4, whatever that may be. We're going to be in and around that with performances like that.
100%. And I think that's the thing as well, Billy, because we needed to bounce back after obviously the start of international break didn't go quite our way. And then to come back and bounce back after international break with a 3-0 win is excellent, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of puts to bed that Bournemouth. That was a real sickener, that one, after, how well we started the season. And it was not just the result, but the performance was absolutely shocking as well. So it was good to get that one out of the way. And I think Thomas Frank before the game was saying he watched the Bournemouth back and said he couldn't believe, how bad it was. He kind of blamed himself, which I think is good. And then I think we learned from it. So I think one of the main lessons he would have taken from that Bournemouth game is that you can't, we have to be playing Bergvall in these games now. Like, he was brilliant again at the weekend, scored. So lessons learned, hopefully.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Sam, coming to you, because obviously Harry touched on it a little bit at the start of the game. Obviously, things were a little bit shaky in terms of how we were letting them in a little bit too easy. I think the first 14 minutes I remember was when Paqueta kind of had that shot and he dragged it wide. I mean, for you, were there any warning signs, or you were just kind of like, no, we're just settling into the game, finding our rhythm?
Oh no, there's always going to be warning signs, especially before you play West Ham, because this is as you said before, cup final. It is a fixture for them to look forward to, and they do really want to beat us on the day. So of course that was a fear that was coming in our mind, in the sense of if we lose this, we're not really going to hear the end of it, are we? The Paqueta chance was just unlucky, to be honest, because that was like millimeters past the post or something, and it was an error on our part, especially with the amount of players we had in the box, and couldn't have anyone clear that ball away. But that was it, really. There was nothing really more I could see West Ham try and offer in terms of a threat. The first half was just us pretty much looking more comfortable, and then, probably feeling the sour grapes and the anger from the disallowed goal. And that's all I can take from the first half. It's the second half, really, that is the bigger positive talking point, really.
Definitely. And I think that's the thing, because obviously we'll move on to that bit of controversy, Harry, and I'll come to you for this one, because obviously it was only a couple of minutes after we saw West Ham obviously have that chance with Paqueta. What did you kind of make it? Because to be honest with you, I'm still kind of baffled from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't get my head around it. Hollie, I've not got too much to add to it. Just crazy, really. So hardly surprising, though. So no, not too much to say in my point of view.
I think that's the thing, because Billy, I come to you, when I kind of saw it, I thought at first it was kind of Romero with Carl Walker-Peters, and they were just kind of having a bit of an argy-bargy, and the ref kind of blew his whistle. And then when you watch it back and you see why the ref blew, it was because of Micky van der Ven behind. I just don't understand it. You see that kind of given, well, not given, shall I say, in loads of different fixtures.
Yeah, and it's particularly frustrating because it was the West Ham, I think maybe the goalkeeper that pushed, or someone pushed Van der Ven into Carl Walker-Peters in the first place. Yeah, and Fernandes, sorry. Just really baffling decision on every level, really. It's just, particularly when we've seen, teams like Arsenal do that so many times this season, or last season, sorry, and get away with it. And then, of course, we're the ones that miss out. Luckily, it didn't have any effect on the game, but I just think... again, almost every game, or certainly every match week, this season, there's been a terrible VAR decision. So this doesn't seem to be going away anywhere.
No, and it does feel like the norm. And Sam, I'll come to you, because I know that you mentioned it like at the start of the show. What could be the only explanation for this? Was it just a poor error, and they've just decided, you know what, we're going to have to stick to our guns here and back the ref?
Look, end of the day, the referee is human. He's not the monitor screen that provides the what happened factor, if you get what I mean. Look, I get it. End of the day, it's so easy to make a mistake from the lower league divisions of non-league football, although I've seen better refs there than in the Premier League, to this level. And that's why we had VAR introduced in, to try and at least reduce the amount of mistakes that are happening. But if the ref gets it wrong on a regular basis, and VAR can't even account for the mistakes, and fix up the mistakes, and then where does that leave us? It's not. This is the thing. I used to think that this is a sort of scheme where, you know, clubs will get the brunt of it, and other clubs will benefit from it. But it really isn't. I think this is a major concern for every single Premier League club, even your likes of Liverpool and Man United, you know, and even Arsenal, who, you know, they have that kind of goal, then it's not going to get disallowed. But there'll be other factors into it where they'll find themselves in a situation where something is wrongly called by VAR or by the ref. So I just don't know where we go forward from here, because, as I said, it's the best league in the world, but the officiating is just the complete opposite.
Yeah, spot on. And I think that's the thing, because luckily for us, Harry, it didn't really matter too much. As frustrating it was, because obviously in the second half, 47 minutes in, we see Pape matar unmarked, may I add, at the back post for Simmons to kind of whip that ball in from a corner. What did you kind of make of that goal and that set piece?
Well, to be totally honest with you, it was so quick we scored in the second half. I missed it. You know, I was far too slow. It's just a habit of mine, and you know, so I did miss it. But no, it was nice. I saw it. Well, I actually missed it replay as well at the time. I went back and saw it all across social media, which is great for it's always removed. So no, really nice goal. And for Pape, I mean, he started the season superbly. So to get a goal is great. And I think we've got to a point now where Sarr is so important. He's almost so important you can't take him out of the team. And I didn't think I'd be saying that at the start of the year, and never had anything against Sarr, and you know, always thought he's a valuable squad member. But I was kind of thinking, like I'm sure many other people were, you know, what is he bringing to this team? You know, okay, he's a box-to-box midfielder, he brings energy. You know, what else? Yeah, what's his kind of niche? You know, what's his difference maker that makes him stand out from the rest? Well, this season I think he's really proved his value, and I think we forget how young he is and how far he's come. And from how I deem him untouchable right now, anyway, in that team. So he was very good. And as far as Xavi Simmons is confirmed, great to get that first assist. Hopefully the first of many. Beautiful delivery. And we know that West Ham have had problems for a long time with set pieces. It's been an ongoing issue, not just this season already, and because it has been last season under Graham Potter. It was Lopetegui was a problem, and it goes right back to when David Moyes left the club and they got rid of the set piece coach, that they've had a real issue with dealing with set pieces, in particular corners. So it's good to see Tottenham take advantage of that, and we've been a lot better, I think, at set pieces, both defensively in particular, but also offensively with set pieces under Frank. So that's great. We took advantage of it. Great start to the half as well, because let's be honest with you, first 20, 25 minutes was even, but towards the end of that first half, Spurs were pushing. I think half-time comes for a good point for West Ham, but we kept going and continued in the second half, and we got that goal, which seemed inevitable for the break.
And again, like you said, it was something that was needed to kind of happen for us. But I want to stick with. Oh, go on, Sam. What did you want to say? Did you want to say something?
No,
Oh, sorry.
sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, Billy. I want to stick with Sarr, because obviously we've spoken a lot about Sarr the last couple of weeks. But I want to talk about obviously the fact that he's adding goals to his kind of trademark now, because obviously he scored 2 in international break as well. To then score 1 for Spurs at the weekend, he is really bolstering what he can do in that bit of the park.
Yeah, he is. And he was, he scored a lot of goals during pre-season as well. I think he's made marked improvements under Thomas Frank, and I think he's one of our best players this season. I think a lot of Spurs fans at the beginning of the end of the window, I should say, were doing like their team lineups with the new signings. How will Tottenham line up? And a lot of people were not including Sarr, but I kind of get the feeling from Frank that he's the first name on the team sheet at the moment. So I don't think there's going to be any doubt that he's going to be a massive player for us this season.
Definitely. And there's definitely more to come from him. He's got such a high ceiling. I'm so excited for him. But obviously, Simmons did get that assist, Sam. And I know you mentioned it slightly earlier in terms of what he brings to the team. And what are you kind of excited to see more of him? Because the crosses that were coming into the box were just perfect.
Well, exactly. That's the thing. If we're going to make additions to the squad, then it needs to be not only someone that can, bring your basic improvement, but the things that we've been missing out on a lot. And one of them happens to be set piece delivery and the crosses. It wasn't just that corner either. I remember, it was at the edge of the box, and he managed to pull in that cross, and he had like at least 3 West Ham players on him, and we just didn't have a target man in the box. But if we had like someone like Harry Kane, someone would have the goals could have been at a higher tally. So yeah, he brings what we're looking for into the team, and especially after the shambles of a transfer deadline. Not transfer deadline, but I don't want to mention it or talk about it. And for him to come in, it has lifted a lot of negative energy off his signing and his presence.
No, I'm with you. I get that too, and I think that's the thing as well. It is annoying because Harry, obviously, we didn't have Richarlison start. Tell obviously started in that kind of more central position. He doesn't really have the same presence. No disrespect to him, to the likes of Solanke and Richie. But it's good telling signs that once we've got that target man in the box, those crosses are going to be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a big part of the game. Sam mentioned it there. I think he's spot on in terms of the balls into the box. And West Ham have been an absolute mess defensively for a little while now. They really have, and which is strange because Kilman, they spent a lot of money for him. Wolves, I think a year ago, and Todibo, who was seen as one of the best. Certainly in his league, if not in Europe, at the time when they signed him. And Mavropanos isn't bad himself, so it does seem strange. And Wan-Bissaka, Walker-Peters are all good players, but it just hasn't worked for West Ham again so far this season. So Tottenham really did take advantage of that, which is very, very key. But no, you're absolutely right. Big surprise to see Matthias Tell start, if I'm honest with you. I was surprised, but at the same time, the way Frank's speaking, it does make a little bit of sense in terms of he still believes he can get a lot out of him in other competitions, still rates him. And it's quite telling for me that, and of course you don't know how much he's kind of to make Till feel better, but the way you kind of get from what Frank's saying is he wishes the squad was bigger for the Champions League and one more Tell would be in there, so which is good because it's not a case of it's Tell's further down the line. It sounds like Tell would be the next one. I do worry if a different situation for the likes of Basuma, just how much time will he get at all, and what's the point of him being around here. But Tell, you're right, it doesn't add that same physical presence. If I'm honest with you, looked lost in particular in that first half, a little bit better in that second half, but at the same time with Richarlison, for example, my dad said to me, why is he not playing? But I think it's very important to remember that how many minutes he played for Brazil. And not a lot of us would have been watching Brazil, I'm sure, in the international break, but he did play quite a bit. Not fully, not 100 minutes, but one game, I think he played 62, 63 minutes. So for Richarlison, this is a lot. A player that spends the majority of his career injured, going hot and cold periods. So to be consistently starting games, playing over an hour is a big leap that we want him to get to. So, no, it's good. And I like this striker depth, and I have a slight fear that Moani may be seen as more of a left winger, but time will tell on that one. But either way, it's good to have three recognised, and maybe four if you include Matthias Tell, strikers at the club. It's very good. It's what we want. It's the depth we've been asking for. Definitely short in other areas, but 4 positions, it's good. But Tell, not the best from him, but I still think he can offer us something this year, even to be off the bench and on the left wing.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I think it's the depth that we kind of need. Okay, Tell didn't have the best of games in terms of his presence, but again, it's not naturally a striker. I don't believe so. I think he's better out on that kind of left, and he's still trying to develop his game. But it was interesting for Frank to kind of start in there. But obviously, in the 54th minute, Billy, we saw a bit of kebabbing with soucek on Polinia. So, what did you kind of make of that challenge? I think he kind of knew what he'd done as soon as he kind of leaped out.
Yeah, that was no question a red card. It was a terrible tackle. Real horrible one. Could have been a lot worse. Just instant red card. Yeah, I'm glad the referee, made up for a horrendous to call in the first half, gave it straight away. No doubt whatsoever. Don't need to go to VAR for that one. It was just a definite red card.
And that's the thing, because straight after that as well, Billy, staying with you, we see that kind of magical goal from Bergvall. And again, I want to give a massive shout out to Romero, because the way he launched that ball forward so precisely for Bergvall to run onto and kind of head it over the keeper was just sublime.
Yeah, I thought, I know Bergvall will obviously get the man of the match award for getting the goal and the assist, but I think Romero was absolutely outstanding. I think he was, particularly in the second half, when they went down to 10 men, his progressive passing was unbelievable. And I still kind of get the impression that he's underrated, particularly by outside of Tottenham fans. I don't think you'll see many better centre-back performances this season from anyone, anywhere. He's just an unbelievable player. But, credit to Bergvall as well. That's an absolutely insane header that he did. Really, really way more difficult than it looked to go up and over the goalkeeper from there. Yeah, just an amazing goal. And good to get his first Prem goal as well.
As well, I think it was in 50 appearances, Sam, for the club as well. He's got his first goal. And for me, it was just, again, kind of echoing what Billy said, the way that he managed to have the skill to know where the keeper was, to flick it over his head and to go in the back of the net.
Standing, honestly, I don't know what else more I can say about it. It was, I think it was good as well in the sense that we just knew that the game was ours, especially because I think that goal happened not too long after Soucek got sent off, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that goal, to be fair, just like lifted the team spirits up like even higher, and to finish it off as 3-0 is in their own backyard, as Harry said, is well, it just puts everything to bed. I think as well that they're not going to be singing about European trophies anytime soon to us. Let's put it that way.
I like that. I like that. No, yeah, it's a very good feeling to squash them and to have them not sing that anytime soon. But Harry, I want to stick with Bergvall because obviously he got that goal, it was wonderful. But then his footwork for that Micky van der Ven goal, just to finish it all off, was just excellent, wasn't it?
It was, and I mean, 5-star performance from Bergvall, 5-star performance from Tottenham, but we're focusing on Lucas Bergvall here, who broke loads of stats. I'm not even going to try and plot them out because they're loads, but just one of them being that it's his first Tottenham goal in the Premier League, 50th appearance, and there's loads of stats, where he gets close to Dele Alli's kind of records he set at the time, which is, I mean, just exciting to hear that yourself. So Bergvall, very high ceiling, very good, and I still think we've yet to see the absolute best of him, but we saw glimpses and moments in this game. And to be honest with you, some would say, if you're going to be an absolute critic, that in the end, that kind of pass, which worked out very well to Van der Ven, some would say didn't meant it and it wasn't as clean as maybe it first looked. But what's important is Bergvall's asked for the ball, he's found space, created that space, received the ball really well and efficiently, and overall it's a really good move, and he keeps the ball under close control. Again, I think it was a very good team move. It's very team. You look at it and think, people who don't maybe understand football as much or don't like Tottenham will look at it and go, okay, if a scrappy goal in the end, it kind of comes off Bergvall, goes to Van der Ven, who slots it in. But if you look at it before that, it's a really good team move. It's a boom, but they move the ball all of a sudden very quickly. Bergvall in a bit of space, and I just like that we can go from slow to quick football very quickly, and when we see a gap, and that's something that I like to still do, but I always looked at it and thought, we don't step it up in terms of the tempo of the play when we need to. We don't exploit those gaps. And I know, Frank, we've certainly been doing that, and we did in this game. So Bergvall, very good, very impressed with him. And again, like with Sarr, and Sarr's done it more consistently throughout this season, and including pre-season as well. But Bergvall's a player that, for example, Villarreal tomorrow, Brighton at the weekend, he's got very, very good case to start because he's playing well. Why change something when it's not broken? I get that every game's different. It'll be a different system. Frank's a manager that I get the impression anyway. It's a different game plan. Completely rips it up and starts again. It was really interesting, that Bournemouth game. To go slightly off a tangent here. Before the game, he was saying like, this is a new game plan, and he's just saying like, we believe it's worked. He spent all week on it. So Frank's a manager that completely goes into it like with something new every week, and that's why he's taking, I think, responsibility for Bournemouth. Like Postecoglou, it's the same every week. You've got the complete flip opposite, where Frank is completely different. And he said, well, the principles will stay the same, but every week's a different game plan. So even though this has probably worked, to have it in his back of his mind, it's completely torn up. I find that incredibly fascinating. If you listen to Frank, I remember he's on Monday Night Football's Brentford coach, won't bore you, but that's really interesting how he said he's never used the same game plan more than once. So I just find that baffling. But anyway, Bergvall, very, very good to keep it on topic. I'm very impressed with him.
And I think that's the thing, because it actually leads quite nicely into what I was going to ask Billy about, and that is Thomas Frank. In terms of, like Harry said, he's got a different game plan, but that he can tweak it in game. And I think the biggest thing for me this season is the fact that we had the ability to take Micky van der Ven off. We could put Danso on. I just feel like we've got more depth now. And again, they're different players, but it still fits that same sort of system.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the really telling moment on that was in the second half when Sarr scored. Everyone pointed over to the coaching staff. So because apparently they worked on it at half time. So I think we've got a really modern coaching setup now. We're going to be reactive in games. We're going to be proactive in games. We're going to make changes according to the game plan. And it's good to have some depth as well. Like Richarlison, Odegaard on the bench, Solanke to come back in as well. Moani didn't even get on. There's some real depth there now, and I think next couple of stretch of games where we're going to play 2 games a week, that's where we're going to massively need it. And I think tomorrow I'll be really interested to see what kind of team he plays, because obviously our first game in the Champions League, but as brilliant as they are, you can't play Romero and Van der Ven every single game, as we saw last season. So it'd be interesting to see how they switch that up. But I get the kind of impression that he'll want to go really strong tomorrow against Villarreal.
I think that leads us very on nicely to Villarreal tomorrow, because Sab, we've got UCL Knights back at the lane again. How excited are you for this one?
I mean, I didn't think we'd see ourselves in Champions League again for a long time after Well, after we sacked Conte, I believe. I know that in Ange's first season, we finished fifth, and we wanted to so that them lot couldn't win the league. And then to finish 17th and win the Europa League and play the Champions League, it just doesn't compute or register in your brain. But yet here we are. I think that it will be a good. I think it's a good refresh in a way that we actually get to play Champions League again with where we left off at. There's a different formation now, so I don't really want to put too much pressure on Frank, because last few years at Tottenham it's been pressure this and pressure that. We've got the change of management we need, as Harry said. Frank does change and rip out a game plan to go for another one. I was actually going to make this point earlier about Thomas Frank, and I'm trying to find it on the computer. But I've got a mate who's a die-hard Brentford fan, and I used to watch, when we lived together at uni, we used to watch the Brentford games. I can't remember the full context, but Thomas Frank basically carried a whiteboard around with him with all the magnets to put around to highlight to the players what they need to do. I might be mistaken, but there might have been a rule at one point where you were not allowed to bring a whiteboard during a water break, and he did it anyway. But I could be wrong. But what I do remember is there was a whole outrage from the opposition. I think it was Charlton, about Thomas Frank and his whiteboards. But that's exactly what I like about him. It's not just about ripping up a game plan. It's about being proactive at every second of the duty of your job. And the whiteboard, I guess, speaks for itself, really. So I do love that from Frank.
No, that is pretty clever. Like you said, it kind of adds on to that factor of literally the game plan can change at any time. So no, it is really interesting. But at the moment, Harry, obviously, they've won two, drawn one, and lost one. So going into this one, how are you kind of feeling? How are you sizing it up?
Oh, good question. I feel confident in terms of, as Sam said, really glad to see us back. The Champions League anthem under the lights. It feels really special, and honestly, I can't tell you how frustrating it is not to be there tomorrow. But it's just something really special. I mean, it's something that every fan looks forward to, especially I think younger fans as well. So no, I feel confident, but it's important to remember that Villarreal, they've got a decent squad. They've at the very least got a decent 11. We're talking about former Spurs player, for example, in Juan Foyth. We've got Solomon, still a registered Spurs player. And for Arsenal, we've got a couple of ex-players. Remember Nicolas Pepe? Was it 72 million or something they spent on him? That was an absolute disaster. I would go as far as saying flop, and I don't like that word, but it really was. For Arsenal, of course, we won't speak about him, but you've still got Partey there, who's recently left Arsenal. So, they've got a lot of players that will be familiar to us. But one thing that's notable with Villarreal, although that 11 is good and they've signed well, their squad isn't in my opinion anyway, as healthy as it was before. They haven't quite got the strength and depth that we have this season, so that could be really good. I fancy us as the more the game goes on. But there's no two ways about it, and I don't like to add pressure. I don't like to add expectation of Frank and the players, but there's, for me, nothing more important than kicking it off with a win tomorrow to start our Champions League campaign. That's for me critically important at home as well, with a couple of tougher games to come. PSG, for example, I think we've got really favourable kind of games that we've got drawn in the league phase. And I think we can do it. We can get through, maybe even automatically as well. So it'd be great to kick off our Champions League campaign. But Hollie, I'm feeling confident at this moment.
Yeah, I think I am as well. I mean, Billy, how are you kind of feeling? And as well, I won't ask you to kind of say who you think is going to start in the lineup, because as we know with Frank, we never have a clue how he's going to set up in these games. But for you, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I think in terms of Champions League draws, you couldn't really ask for a much better start. I'm not saying they're a bad team by any stretch of the imagination. They will be really well organised, but Villarreal at home for the opening Champions League tie. It's a game that we have to win, really, if we have any aspirations of getting through. There's some really tough teams in the Champions League that we've mainly avoided, other than PSG. So this will be certainly a fixture that we look to win. I think the atmosphere will be really good. It's a shame about the ticket pricing, I think, because there's a lot. I've seen that there's 1,000 tickets that are unsold, which is a bit of a shame, but it should still be a really good atmosphere, I think.
It's actually interesting you mentioned that, because Sam, I'll come to you with the tickets and things. I actually didn't realise how expensive they were. And then obviously, like Billy said, when you look at how many seats are empty, because I think I read that they're offering up to 6 tickets. You can buy up to 6, when normally that isn't the case. So for you, what's your kind of thoughts on what's so well, I suppose it is outpricing fans for our Champions League night back at the Lane for this first kind of time?
So what did you say about the tickets? I didn't quite hear.
So they're like really, really expensive.
Oh,
And that's why Billy
right.
was saying obviously there's loads of seats that are obviously not taken up. What I mean, to come back to the Lane for the first time to having Champions League in a very, very long time, it just seems a bit bizarre for the club to do so.
Well, that's 21st century football for you. There's a reason I don't go to as many Spurs games anymore as I used to, and I live out of London now because of the cost of living and because of the prices. So it doesn't really surprise me, but I guess that's just one way to make. That's just one way to make your cashola end of the day, and someone's going to pay for it. Unfortunately, it's not going to be me because I'm trying to keep this above my head. So I don't really know what else to say, but it is what it is.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. And I think that is the thing. I think it is frustrating when that's kind of happened. And I'm hoping that maybe because so many tickets have been sold, for the next couple of games in the Champions League, it's not going to be the case. But we'll have to kind of wait and see. But before we move on to Brighton, I want to get your score predictions because it's a new thing I'm trialing this season to get our score predictions. So, Harry, I'll come to you first. What are you saying? What's the score going to be?
3-1 Spurs. Kick it off in style.
Bosh, I like that. How about you, Billy?
I think 2-0. I think it'll be a nice, convincing win. My phone battery's on 1%, by the way, so if I just suddenly go, that's why. But I'm hoping I get to put my Brighton score in. If I don't get my Brighton score in as well, I'm going to say 3-1 in that one.
Bosh, there we go. Lovely. I like it. We've got it covered. And Sam, as you, what are you saying for Villarreal? What's the score going to be?
For Villarreal, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Home. I mean, it's a home advantage, and yeah, I'm just going to say 2-0. I feel like a home advantage and a good atmosphere can make that very possible, as well as a competent style of play, which so far I've seen very highly of Thomas Frank. So 2-0 it is.
Nice. I like it. All wins all round. I'm going to go with. I think I'll go 2-0 as well. I've got this bit of a cop out, but I'll roll with it anyway. But yeah, it'll be excited to see how that kind of goes down tomorrow. But obviously, we're going to look ahead to the weekend as well. And Harry, I'll come to you first. Obviously, Brighton, 3:00 Saturday. What are you feeling?
It's hard to obviously know at this moment in time because it could go all wrong. It's Villarreal, could be all good. So that's the beauty, isn't it, of 2 games a week, or the frustrating part of it, whichever way you look at it. But I like the unpredictability of it. But no, I think that Tottenham, it can be a tough game for us. Being Brighton, I think they start the season well. I think maybe they should have more points on the board. But one thing I will say with Brighton is you seem to get a slightly different side every year, and they still struggle generally to not take their chances. I mean, how many seasons now we've been saying that about Brighton, that they can't finish their dinner. And this is without the Pedro as well. So as you can imagine, they don't score half as many as goals, but they are very good defensively still. So no, it's going to be tough. And being away from home as well, there's no given that we go there and get 3 points. It will be a test. They really did test Bournemouth, and we'll talk about a really good Bournemouth side this year, as we recently found out ourselves. So no, it's going to be tough. So hopefully we go into it with no new injury concerns, and hopefully can get the win. So it's going to be tough though.
Yeah, it will be tough because, like you say, obviously they did lose to Bournemouth. They have currently won 1, drawn 1, and lost 2. So, Billy, how are you feeling going into this one?
It's not the easiest game. I think it'll very much depend what happens on Tuesday and how we rotate. And it'd be interesting to see what kind of team we put out. I think they beat Man City, didn't they, at home the other day? So it won't be an easy game at all. I think if we, it might be one of those ones that we look back on. If we get a draw and get out of there, it might not be a bad result after a Champions League game. But I'd love to win it, obviously. But Brighton are a decent team. They seem to sell their best players every year and still manage to keep competing. Really good manager every time. So it won't be an easy place. But any sort of win would be fantastic, and I wouldn't be massively devastated with a draw, especially after a Champions League game.
I think that's the thing. So now we're kind of hitting into that run of obviously 2 games a week, Sam. It is going to be interesting. Like I say, it all kind of hangs in the balance for Tuesday. But again, we've been talking a lot tonight about obviously the squad depth we kind of have. You'd like to think that hopefully we'll be able to manage this game against Brighton as well at the weekend.
I mean, listen, end of the day, like, as long as we don't finish where we finished last season, then that's an improvement in itself. But having said that as well, yes, it is going to be tougher with more games in a week, but that's only if it's dependent on who your manager is or was and what their attitude is going into it. And I think, look, I don't know if we'll finish in the top four. I can't see it personally, but you never know. It's the for it to be unpredictable is what makes it exciting, as Harry said earlier. And I'm 100% with Billy, to be honest. If we come out of the Amex with a point, then it's not really a disgrace or a bad result, because they have been our bogey team for the last couple of years, and a good Brighton side will punish you on their day. So if we can beat Villarreal and not lose to Brighton, then I'd say that's an okay week, and we move on to the next game.
Definitely, because they are going to come up thick and fast now as well. So I wouldn't be too begrudged, like you say, if we don't come away with a win, but we get a draw, so be it. But that kind of leads us on to obviously giving our score predictions for that game as well, which I know is double as hard because we've just done Tuesdays. We've got to wait a little bit longer for Saturdays, but I'm going to do it anyway. So Harry, I'm going to start with you again. So go for it, my friend. What are you saying?
I hope I'm wrong in a way in terms of I hope we get more from it. I'm going 1-1.
Nice. There's Billy.
I'm going to go 3-1 Tottenham, just so I feel positive at the moment.
Nice. I like that. Bold. And Sam?
Well, this is about Brighton.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll see a goal fest, and I reckon it'll be 2-2.
Nice.
I can just see us coming out of that with a point at best. Only because we're playing in their ground, end of the day. It's always tough playing as an away side there.
No, defo. But it will set us up for obviously a very interesting and hopefully entertaining kind of week ahead, obviously, with the game tomorrow and then on Saturday as well. And I guess that's kind of wrap up everything we've done tonight. I know it was very much a whistle-top store, but normally I found all last year I was moaning for an hour, whereas now we've actually got some positive things to talk about. They don't take as long. So we'll go around the table and say our goodbyes. So Sam, thank you once again for coming on the channel. It's been great to have you on. Where can everybody find you doing your thing?
You can find me on YouTube, as it's typed, Sam Chipex, just type that in. I used to do Spurs content. I'd like to do my ground hopping content, and I've got a new concept now of YouTube shorts that I've been doing lately, and it's well, I guess the catchphrase is it's football trivia you didn't need to know, but now you do. So if you are interested in that kind of stuff and looking to, I don't know, maybe even make your own quiz and stick my information that I found, feel free to. But that's my content these days.
Lovely stuff. No, thank you, Sam. Really appreciate it. And make sure you go check Sam's channel out as well. Harry, thank you very much too. Where can everybody find you doing your thing?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Hollie. Really enjoyed it as always. So big up, and thanks to the panel in the comments as well. So yeah, you can find me at HarryScarf22 across all socials. Also have my own YouTube channel. It's under my name, Harry Scarf. It contains my own Tottenham podcast within, called the Scarfy Spurs Talk Podcast. Banging out 2 episodes a week at the moment, every Monday and Thursday night on YouTube. So once I jump off here, I'll be hosting the podcast, and I'm looking forward to it. A lot to discuss. But as you said, Hollie, it's a lot better, isn't it, when you're winning and it doesn't take as much time. You think, oh my goodness, there's so much to discuss and time goes quick. It's never as long. I guess we all like a moan, but still, we wouldn't change if the world would be Tottenham winning. And I'm glad I can come on in better circumstances than you could come on mine last year and I can come on yours, and it was loss after loss, pain after pain. But thank you very much for having me.
No, thank you. And I think Billy's just left. I think his phone has died.
Oh dear.
We all know where to find Billy over on Twitter, and I do know that he has started doing TikTok as well. So make sure you go check out Billy too. And like I say, thank you to all my guests. Thank you to everybody else that's obviously tuned in live, that's going to rewatch this. I just want to bring this up because obviously Spurs related know that I'm a massive NFL fan, and last night the Vikings lost to the Falcons, so I'm not very happy about it. So I'm glad that you put that in there. Thank you for reminding me. But no, thank you to everybody that is tuned in tonight, to my guests, to everyone, and hopefully tomorrow it'll be a lovely win. Hopefully 3 points at the weekend, fingers crossed, against Brighton, and then we'll be back next Monday to do it all over again. So thank you very much, and I guess until next time, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.